Today I am going to show you how to weave this beautiful pumpkin. Are approaching the dates, so I am going to recommend that you make it and offer it among all your relatives. We are sure to ask you for a lot of them. We are starting. For this project I will use this type of material, in case you do not have it. Don't worry friend, it will be beautiful if you do it too, with wool yes, or stamen, in this case. Now we will need these 3 basic colors. A marker. Our keychain, a pair of scissors. 1 rope for 2 mm wool or yarn. Securing my first stitch. And depending on this occasion of how many chain stitches you make is the size you are going to wear 3, 4, 5. 17, 18. 19. Yes, up to here. Now let's go. To pass a chain stitch, and in this chain stitch that follows, pass and shuffle half double crochet in a single time. And here I am going to place a marker on it to know that this is the stitch, the last stitch, or the first stitch I'm going to move on to the next chain stitch, and we will knit the same half double crochet next. Half double crochet in a single half stitch crochet time. Half double crochet and half double crochet, and so I'm going to weave myself until all the stitches are completed. Let's raise a chain stitch. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to take this as the chain stitch I lifted. This one I have here. I will take half of the chain stitch of the mid stitch, and there I am going to make him half double crochet. And here in this part we are going to place him another marker at the beginning. I'm going to move on to the stitch that follows, and taking only half of the chain stitch, I leave half double crochet. Half of the chain stitch, half double crochet. And so I will continue to weave until I complete my entire tour. Only half of the chain stitch. Now once finished, here is this stitch, which was the first one I made. I will knit it complete. This one I take from side to side and shuffle. Half double crochet. A chain stitch. This was the last stitch I made this one. I will take only half of the chain stitch. Twist and half double crochet, and that's where we're going to place the scoreboard on him. Now at the end we have a marker. And at the beginning we have a marker. Look, we are still weaving. Half of the chain stitch. Half double crochet, half of the chain stitch. Half double crochet, half of the chain stitch. Half double crochet, then the first and last stitch is going to be as I have just shown you. Taking the full stitch, then we have arrived. This is the last stitch, and we are going to take it as complete as follows. And we weave half double crochet, a chain stitch. This was the last stitch I made. I take only half the turn, and I start again. Well, this I'm going to do it 28 times, or 28 rounds in this case. Now we carry 1, 2, and 3 rounds. I'm going to do it for 28, and I'll be back We are going to close at this time. We are going to leave a little bit of material, because with this material that we are going to leave, let's make the divisions. I'm going to pass, I'm going to turn. And I'm going to start by taking here the first stitch on one side. But watch out. The material has to stay here. Here. Yes, then I will take this first stitch. On the one hand, I'm going to take half the chain stitch from the other side. Yes, here we go again. So it is now. Then I take the stitch first. And I'm going to take this one, but only half of the chain stitch. Half of the chain stitch. And I make the slip stitch. To close the next stitch on one side. Half of the chain stitch on the other side. And I make the slip stitch. To close. Again I pass the next point on one side. Half of the other's chain stitch. And slip stitch closure. Half of one side. Or I take the full stitch from one side of the other half and slip stitch. And I will do this until I close all the stitches. I have already finished closing here in this part. We can now cut. It will be necessary to leave enough material behind. Because with this now you will see. Will be double and we will close it. Here in this part 1 I'm going to do the following. Let's start here. Let's get to the stitches. Downward. In which it follows. We are going to put it up. Down to see up already has this turn. Downward. Upwards on this next round. Up here. Downward. Upwards. And so I'm going to go all the way around to see. Once we have everything around we are going to throw away. And is going to close completely here. In this part. This is how we are going to stay and we are going to try to close. Here in this part. Let's take another round. Watch to close it. We are going to take these who are here, which are like the ends of the relief. I will pass here first. And we are going to tie it up to secure this first part here. By the injection stitch, yes, look at. This is the outside and we are going to take the relief but inside. And there we are going to leave it. And we will move on. And we are going to do the same process as we did on the side. Opposite. Yes, only now here in this part. Downward, upward, upward. Now we have all the yellow to close. But first you have to fill in. Then we will need. Here in this part. It must be laid so that First to make him perform and second to make him perform as well. Is easier to accommodate. We can always go like this, eh? Start by filling in the edges first. We are going to make the same as pulling the cord to close. And here we are going to see if we need it. More filling or on which side we need more filling. Before closing. Already completely. Make sure everything is well distributed. Let's split. In this case our pumpkin goes, then let's start from here. Let's pass look. In this case I recommend that it be double, to make it look nicer, so that the thread is not visible there at all. Then here. We just adjusted our material. And I'm going to go through the bottom. But first you have to close well. I'm going to tie him, I think, a knot first, friends, eh? Here in this part look at. I'm going to stop by. And I will take the stitches just like on the opposite side, to take another walk. And to be firmer. Anyway, remember that in this part of the year we are leaving, to put the as part of the twig. The sheet, and then this is going to cover anyway, but in any case, it is necessary to close as much as possible, and we can see which of the two closed better. And already on that, we have already left it to each other. Down, and the one that is a little more open we leave it up. Look at this one, it is already well closed. And now I do believe that it will no longer open. Then goes the closing. If you realize that it looks a little bit like, as in this part of the brand. Well, I'm going to go from here to side. To stay in the center. Has to be in the center. And look at this part. The other one must also enter. The other end goes. Then we are more or less going to leave it like this, and we can now adjust our wool. And in this case, let's stop by first. Where it is like the union. From here we pass back to the center. Don't move. And there we are going to arrange it. Here. And we through. Now we are going to do the same. Here in front of where we have just closed. Where we have just closed. We passed underneath. And we pull to make the accommodation. Let's try to leave them all the same. For example, yes, 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 on the other side we need to pull a little more. Well, then we pull this one, look. And we pull a little more on the other one. You can see that it closes. And that's it, too. We obviously have to balance it. Look. Now we have more or less the balance. Now we are going to send it here. Let's do first as a cross. And then we're going this way. to form the 4 sections first. And now, let's split those segments. And this is how it will stay. See how beautiful it is, isn't it? Well, here once we have this part, I'm going to link it as a stitch here to give it security. Look, there it is. I secure my first stitch and start knitting chain stitches. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Let's take our keychain. I have 12 chain stitches. Here in this part, pass and make a slip stitch. For this space, I will take from my first stitch. And I'm going to start knitting. Slip stitch. For each chain stitch. Slip stitch. Everyone will leave the length they need. If you want, make the cord longer. Well, you leave it at that. With more chain stitches. They want it shorter, just less chain stitches. And so. Here, and this is how it will stay. Now in this part 1 I'm going to retire, and I'm going to leave a little bit of material in case I need to sew or glue it. For the trunk. To make the top, I'm going to make a magic ring or a circle. And I'm going to do it. In this case I am going to start knitting stitches 1, 2. 3, 4. 5 and 6, 6 single stitches. I'm going to pull the start cord. And the first one to close is the one we are going to close first, and then the starting cord again. To keep it well closed. Now in this case, I already have my 6, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5 here and here. Where is my first single stitch? I will see. I'm going to stop by. My first single stitch was a little bit closed. But we're putting it in place right now. Here now, yes. In it I'm going to start knitting. A single stitch. And there I am going to place the marker on it. I have one. I'm going to move on to the next one. And in the next one I will knit 2, 1, and in the same space. 2 in the following. 1 and the one following 2, 1. And 2. You can see, friends. I'm going to check that it is looking good. And again with a single stitch following. And in the last one we are going to knit 2 of him. And in total I have to have 9 single stitches. So now I withdraw my marker. And here we are going to weave our first single stitch. So, I place the scoreboard. Me pass to the next one. I leave a single stitch. And so I will be weaving. Single stitch. And single stitch goes. Now that my return is over, I am going to place the keychain in the center. Pass. Here. And look inside the center since we have it here like this. I am going to tie a knot first. Obviously, the knot has to be big so that it won't get out of there, right? Then I'm going to make 2 and 3 knots, right? Then pass. And I will be placing marker. At the same time I lose this little piece of wool, which is the part of the bandala or the keychain stitch, and I'm going to lose it. Here I place marker, just to remind you that this is where I have to close the turn, and we will be weaving. And at the same time losing these little pieces of material, to ensure them, yes. Then I move on to the next one. And you single stitch. And in which it follows. Single stitch and at which it follows. Single stitch goes. So. I'm going to do 2 more laps and come back. I want to show you. We already have in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds in total, and here in this part. I will do it in the next stitch. A slip stitch. And we are going to leave a little bit of material, because with this same one we have to sew. Yes, then that's how it's going to look like. Well, let's go for the sheet. For this I am going to start. I secure my first stitch. And we are going to weave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 chain stitches, and we are going to make him 1 more chain stitch. Here I am going to move on to the chain stitch that follows. And I start by making a slip stitch, in which a single stitch follows, in which half double crochet follows. Three double crochet 1, in which 2. Next. 3. And we are going to make him C. 3 we are going to do 5, 4. And 5, yes 5 stitches. Hi, now I pass the next one. I make half double crochet. Next single stitch. And slip stitch. I make a chain stitch, and on the other side I will do the same. Slip stitch. Next single stitch. Next half double crochet. We are going to work as in mirror 5 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And half double crochet. Single stitch. And slip stitch. So. And that's how we're done. Now I make 1, 2, 3 chain stitches, and here, where I have the first stitch, here I am going to make a slip stitch. I pass to the next space. I slide to see if we are going to leave it like this. Me pass to the next one. Slip. I slip and I'm going to pass. And sliding stitch by stitch. The decoration. Here I secure my first stitch and we will be weaving 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 chain stitches. And I'm going to pass one. And there in the first one I leave a single stitch. 2 single stitches. And 3 single stitches. In the next one I will do the same. 1, 2. And 3 single stitches. In the following I repeat 1, 2. And 3 single stitches. In which it follows. We make another 3, 1, 2. And 3. And so on until completion. All stitches 1, 2, 3. In the one that continues, look here it is already forming. Now we have our parts. And we can start with the little leaf. For the assembly. First let's tie a knot here. In order to remove one of the extremes. And we say, goodbye. To this little piece.
Bye.
We are going to keep the one we are going to hit. I want to show you, friends, and how the final result has turned out. I have already glued it. As I tell you it was the same process. But I wanted you to see it like this, look. A one that is of its height is not much, but you can see a little bit of it. And the width is also true. You can see a little bit. Look at the width, yes? Then it is 1. Small variation. As always I hope it has been to your liking. If you liked it, support me by sharing on your social networks. With your relatives. With your friends. In your Facebook groups. And see you in an upcoming video.